Hi, this is Dan from SonicCouture, and today we're going to have a quick look at the Novachord front panel 1939 template, which is what we call this layout. It's basically a reproduction of the original Novachord front panel, so it includes 6 levers down here which are adjusting the level of 6 different channels. On the original Novachord these were actually filters, but we've sampled them as separate channels so you can get a similar behavior to the Novachord itself. If we turn them all off, I can play them one at a time. The deep tone is the most low pitched, and you have resonators which are slightly higher up. Second resonator, third resonator, and then the brilliant tone, which is basically a high pass of the whole sound you'll hear. And then the full tone, which is the sum of all of those together. And that's basically how you adjusted the timbre of the Novachord. It was a bit like organ stops. You could mix and match these. Another thing you have up in the left here is the attack lever. It modulates not just the attack though, it changes the envelope shape. As you can hear, if it's set to the top here up to fast, it's actually a decay, and the sustain is at 0. And then as you bring it down, the sustain level comes up until in the middle it's like an organ sound. And if you keep moving down, you're slowing the attack, what they called on the original slow. And then on the Novachord itself, to increase the release time, you used a foot pedal. So we've put a little switch here which turns it on and off. And if you like, you can route a foot pedal controller to that just by taking a controller assignment here and dragging it onto the release switch. In the middle here we have a brightness control, which is just a single pole low pass filter. Which is similar to the control on the Novachord. And then on the right we have 3 levels of vibrato. You have off, small, and full vibrato. And that was basically it. That's how you built a sound on the original Novachord. So what James and I did is we thought, well, this is nice, but let's put some more controls on there. And up in the right, where it says 1939, you can click on that and it becomes 2039, and a whole lot of new stuff pops up. Along the top of the channels here, you can see there's an LED for each of the resonator channels. This selects that channel for editing. All up here selects all of them at once, so anything you're editing changes all channels together. And solo lets you hear just what you're doing to that channel on its own. So for example, this, we're hearing many channels here, but if I want to edit just the brilliant tone and hear what I'm doing, I can solo just the brilliant tone and adjust the filter cutoff of it, or something like that here. So quickly, let's just go through these controls. I'll set it to all so that it's very easy to hear. The attack now is an attack control. So this is a full envelope ADSR system. So the attack, as you can hear, is fast, slow, and you've got your decay, sustain, release as usual, and your velocity sensitivity here. This switch FEG changes it to the filter envelope, so you've got 2 envelopes now at your disposal with the same set of controls. In the middle, the filter section, this is actually a dynamic filter, a 2-pole low pass, with resonance, as you might expect. And you got your filter depth. Let's make it. You've got keyboard tracking here. You got velocity sensitivity to the cutoff itself, so you can. And we've got a high pass in here, which is static, but you can take out some of the low end, and there's resonance for that filter as well. An LFO, which is routed to the filter. And just by the way, if you command or control click any of these knobs, they go to a default value, which is basically a nothing value, so it's as if they're not really on. The vibrato is the same as it is on the other page, but it just gives you quick access to it. The one thing to keep in mind is that this filter is not this filter. This is a very shallow filter just for bright mellow, and this is quite a sharp filter which is dynamic with an envelope. Now down at the bottom there's 4 extra knobs here. There's one called drift. This is a kind of random wobbly pitch thing, but very subtle, a bit like a tape wow effect, and it works separately on each of the channels so that you get a little bit of phasing going on between them. You've got detune, which is your typical doubling it up, and the width of the detune here in the stereo field. And then there's a saturation. Keep in mind you can make sounds by adjusting these quite independently. So for example, let's just do a quick test here. We're going to use just 2 channels, the brilliant and the deep tone. Let's solo the brilliant tone. Turn up the resonator. And there's, as you can hear, the filter envelope. It's doing something quite distinct to that. Listen to the deep tone. Take off the filter envelope completely and put the LFO perhaps on that one. Now if we take off solo, you hear those 2 together. So you can basically have all these controls set individually for each of the 6 channels and make some very un-Novachord type sounds. Anyway, let's move on. There's another tab here with effects on it. We have reverb, as you might expect. It's convolution. We've got a bunch of our favorite convolutions that we've collected over the last couple of years in here. You've got the return level as well as the send level, and you've got a high pass filter. Then there's the delay, which you've got your typical contact delay controls in here. And then we've got 4 insert effects. You've got your phaser, you've got your chorus, your rotary, and your cabinets, which are actually quite useful if you want to get something very 1939 sounding, is because the Novachord had really bad speakers. And that's basically it for this template. So you can see there's quite a lot of potential here with the 2039 editor, and yet we have another editor. So I'll show you that in a different video. Alright, thank you for listening. Hi, this is Dan from SonicCouture. I'm going to have a quick look here at the Novachord dual layer template. About half of our presets are built using this template, so we thought we'd give you a quick little tour. Instead of the 6 channels, we now have just 2 pull-down menus, and a single side of this can be active at a time. You can see that patch 2 here is turned off at the moment. Using this pull down menu, you can choose from any of the 50 fully multi-sampled presets we recorded of the Novachord itself. So for example, this 3333333 decay is an unaffected, unprocessed version of the Novachord with those settings. And you can use these up and down arrows above the menu here to step through the presets, so you can hear them sort of one after another without using the menu. So each of these that I'm calling up are a complete multi-sampled set of the original Novachord. And you'll see often there's a vibrato and a non-vibrato version of the same sound. So you can have the same timbre with vibrato or without vibrato in many cases. And you could then use these as a starting point for doing more treatments using contacts controls. So up here you have your amplitude envelope, which is standard ADSR, your attack times on the big lever, your release here, so your velocity sensitivity if you want. You got your filter, filter tracking, get your filter envelope depth, the resonance of the filter. Now the filter envelope is over on this side, again a full ADSR. Bring this filter down, bring the envelope depth up. You can hear its effect there. You have velocity to filter. You have a high pass filter, the high pass resonance. You have an LFO, which is the depth is controlled here and the rate here. And as usual with all of our controls, you can option click or control click or command click. You can something click to put them back to where they're not having any effect. Now patch 2 here is set to off, but we can actually just choose from the same selection of 50 multi-samples another group to have on at the same time. And if I turn this one off for a second, you can hear that one and that one. So you can make a layer. You can do something different with this one perhaps. We can make this into an attack sound. Maybe doing something a bit like this. And then we can layer that in with the first sound we were making. So you basically have 2 complete Novachord settings with 2 sets of parameters that you can blend together using these volume faders here. If you want to edit both of them at the same time and make them identical, you can link the 2 with this button, and then anything you do will be done to both patches, patch 1 and patch 2. So if we want to set the filter cutoff to be exactly the same on both, we link them and we move the filter. If we want the release to be the same on both of them, we do that while it's in link mode. And so on. At the bottom we have the drift again, which is the very slight sort of tape wow type drifting of pitch. It's very subtle, but sometimes has a nice effect. This, we have the detune, of course, here, which fattens things up by doubling everything, and you have the width of the detune in the stereo field here. At 0 it's in the center. And then you have your tube saturation. about it for this page. When link is active, you are changing every preset at the same time when you touch a parameter. So for example, if I adjust the high pass filter with link active, like that, and I change this preset here, that high pass filter has been changed on all of them. So if you quickly need to set everything back to 0, hit link and command click the parameter you want to set back to 0. If one side only is selected, only that patch that's displayed at the moment will be edited by the controls above. Okay, with that hopefully clear, we have the effects page, which is the same effects page as in the other template. We have a reverb send with some convolutions that we've collected. Even have our EMS spring here from the Synthy project. And a return level here. High pass filter for the reverb only. We've got your delays on this side, which is your contact delay, time and feedback, damping and panning. And then you have your phaser control, which is on an insert effect. Or you can add chorus. The rotary speaker simulation. And the cabinet. You can choose your type of cabinet here, for the UK 60s. And of course you can use these in any combination. So that concludes our little tour of the dual layer template, and I think you can see there's plenty of potential here for making your own instruments and tweaking stuff how you want it to be. Thanks for listening.